Hello and welcome to the channel. I recently went for a subscriber ride up in the Peak District, and I'll be honest with you, I smashed Heidi bike down some really gnarly hills. And while the bike is superb now, she's running perfectly fine, we have just one slight little issue, and that is a little bit of a creaking and a groaning. Now, a lot of people out there have said, well, that's just what you've got to live with, it's a carbon bike. Well, it never used to do that when I bought the bike originally, so it's definitely something that's not inherent with the All Mtn 7.
Heidi's there all ready and set up. So what we're going to be looking at today, in order to try and get rid of this squeak here on the motor, is we're going to take each one of these bolts out individually and re-grease them, then put them back in. The second one's down here, and see if that makes any difference. And from there, what we'll do is we'll strip down this entire seat and replace the two bolts that are in here one at a time.
If you've had a squeaky, creaky bike, you'll know just how frustrating it is, and the more you actually hear it when you're out on the ride, the more it really starts to annoy you. Now, ever since I've got this bike in November, I've learnt a huge amount. Shout out to all you, the subscribers and people out there that have helped me learn new things when I wasn't quite sure. So it's going to be a matter of elimination today. We're going to go through this process, and if this doesn't do it, we'll move on to something else to eventually, hopefully I can solve it, and this will solve the issue for you as well. These bolts have actually got the setting for Newton meters to use with the torque wrench, and I have been advised on Facebook, somebody said, you want to over tighten these much tighter, stops a squeak. I don't think that's advisable. That number is on there for a reason, and tightening these up too much will either get a threaded bolt or you'll actually crack your carbon frame, so it's not something I would advise. Haibike have obviously put that on there for a reason. As you can see, it's absolutely bone dry, no grease at all, so that's one thing we're going to be looking at now. And this is the grease that we're going to be using on screen. A little squirt of this on the thread and a little bit, possibly, on the actual bolt hole. Now, you could put thread locker in on some of these, but for now, in case I need to take these out at any point, I'm actually using grease. One thing I actually forgot to film here on the second bolts was I put some carbon gripper, especially where any metal actually meets the carbon frame. It can help to stop squeaking. Now, a good torque wrench should and must be in your toolkit. It's essential because you really need to know how much you are tightening these bolts up, and the bar will actually click and release when we're actually at the correct pressure. In our case here, 22. It is a really simple process to do very basic bike maintenance, and it's just really satisfying once you know what you're doing and being able to fix something and then go out on the trail, such as replace your rear hanger or change your suspension and things like that. So if you haven't learned some of these basic bike skills, rather than taking it to your local bike shop, get yourself some tools, get some advice off the internet before you do anything and damage your bike, as I've done in the past. As I've mentioned, I used to have somebody that used to fix my bike all the time, but now I'm trying to do it myself. It's just so satisfying when you can finally do it for yourself and save a few pennies. Now all those bolts have been re-greased and put back up to torque strength, we're going to be looking at the saddle. A lot of you out there said it's possibly when you're putting your body weight left and right, it's the saddle that's squeaking. So we're going to completely strip this down to its basic components, re-grease it all and put it back together again. But we also need to make sure that we take a picture of it or mark the actual bars underneath with a knife or something, so you know exactly where to put your seat when you come back, because obviously you get used to riding, your body position changes, and if the position of your seat's not in the correct place, you can get lower back pain and other medical conditions.
These are the parts of the actual saddle, and as you can see, they're covered in grit and dirt, so any bit of grit that's actually moving with your body weight is going to create problems and friction. As you can see, pretty gunky. Yeah, pretty bad. And if we actually look at the seat here, you can see again, absolutely caked. And these rails, you can see they're actually scratched, and those are not the marks that I left there. Yeah, so definitely needs a clean. And if we actually look at the bike, you can see again, all completely gunked up. It needs a right good clean. So hopefully this might solve our problem. Now, if you look at the screws here, these are the screws that came out of the actual seat, and these are the screws that Haibike have sent. As you can see, they've also got a little bit of thread locker already on there, so I'm going to reapply the thread locker and put grease on the top up there near the head. I don't know if I can show you both the size. So the black one on the left is the new Haibike one that was sent, and the one on the right was the one that came with the bike. As you can see, there is a bit of a difference there, and that's why Haibike have sent them. So I'll get those greased up, get them on the bike, and see if it makes a difference. But yeah, we're definitely going to be giving this a really good clean. Clogged. These are some of the products you've seen me using on the bike just now. I've actually been using this thread locker, which seems to work really well. You can get blue and red, make sure you get the right one. I'm going to be using the ISO Clean to clean the actual seat, get it all nice and shiny, clean all that up. That's what I'm going to use. You can get this from a link in the description box. Obviously you've got your silicone spray. We've already looked at the TF2 bike grease with Teflon on there, and also the carbon assembly paste. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to put in the bike grease on the top of the head of the screw, and then we will be putting the thread locker on the bottom half, and hopefully that might solve that problem. If it doesn't, then we can move on to stage 2. The seat's now cleaned up, or as well as I can get it. I've put some silicone on here and trying to clean it off, and we also use the ISO Clean to make sure that there was no residue before we actually put that little bit on. So we're going to put a little bit of grease, just a little bit on this bottom runner, but not on the rest of the parts. Regarding these, as we've mentioned, we're going to be putting some thread locker almost up to the top, and then a little bit of grease up near the head to stop water ingress. So I'm going to put this together now. You don't need to see me putting the seat together again, but we'll get the seat back on, and then we'll have a look at everything that we've done and see whether this solves the creaking. Well, that's the end of that. I've spent about 40 minutes now searching in here, looking for that part of the seat. I heard it hit a stone. It's not in here. I have looked in every little crevice. Yeah. Bye-bye. So off to the bike shop we go. I don't have much luck, me, do I? The bike shop we trust then. So that's the bottom plate. I just need missing that top one. And I've got a funny feeling it may be a Haibike one that I need specifically. The situation is, the Haibike has been creaking like an old age pensioner.
So you probably need the...
It's just like a little H, like a...
It's a little plate that
it's like a little H shape.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
See if I've got a spare one lying around.
It's a great bike shop, this. This is all terrain, by the way. I should have mentioned where we are. Yeah, tons of EBs in. Well, I say there's tons of EBs in. They're already sold. There you go. Probably in there laughing at me now. He's going to come through that door in a minute now. Oh, there he is. He's looking. He's looking. Is it going to be this? No. Is it going to be this, or is it going to be this? Place your bets, ladies and gentlemen. Place your bets now. Oh, here he comes. Here he comes. Here he comes. It could be one of these, or it could be one of these. What say you? Is that the one?
Well... So where your seat post fastens onto there, that your seat post sits there.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, and then there's two little barrels go.
And then barrels go.
That's it.
Down there, and that's your seat clamp.
Will that fit? Is that like a generic one?
Normally, yeah.
Right.
You can try it.
I'll give it a go.
But without the rest of the post, I can't.
Well, yeah.
Tell you.
Yeah. What do I owe you?
No, it's free.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. And just ignore all the bad things they say about this bike show. Thanks, buddy.
All right, take care.
See you later. Bye bye. There you go. I'll see you next week with something else bricks. See you later. Bye bye.
Yeah.
Let's hope this works. You never know. But I think we'll go down to Shevin Cycles, see if they've got one and see what they say. They might have an official one in. They are a Haibike dealer. You never know. We'll give it a whirl. Just come out, and the piece that I was given from the other bike shop is actually took the Haibike seat off an All Mountain 6 in there. And the actual convex shape underneath is slightly different, ever so slightly different on the Haibike. Of course it is. So he said you're going to have to get a new dropper post. That's not going to happen. You can try this and pack it up with some mastic tape for now, as a short-term solution so that I can actually go for a ride in the meantime. But it says you're going to have to speak to Haibike and see whether they can get one under warranty, as in somebody's taken one in and someone's come back, blah, 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 blah. But otherwise, it is a dedicated shape. So we are screwed. So I'm going to have to go back and napalm the entire place and see if I can find the other part of this. An hour later, I've hacked my garden to bits. He was right down one of those little crevices. Hey, do you know what? My garden needs it anyway. Look, it's completely overrun, and it is a job for me to do. I did this last summer with that no grow stuff, and it's gone through. So I've got all this to clear and sort out now. Bloody Haibike. Right, let's get this finished. Then I'll clean that after. There she is. All fitted. All re-greased, all cleaned. I've got a little bit of a problem with the dropper post not quite coming up all the time when I press the handle, but now's the time to give it a little test. So here is the moment of truth. Come on, Heidi. Power on. I'm hearing creaking. Okay, so far, a couple of creaks. And it's when we get the pressure on the pedals, so let's just give her a little bit to settle in. Right, so we've still got creaking, so it solved nothing. It solved nothing. There we go. Yeah, it's not solved it. So I've just nipped round to see a mechanic I know and get his advice, and he's just gone for a spin on it. He thinks it's when you apply pressure to the bike, it's actually coming from down near the crank arms, which is interesting because that's one place we haven't really looked at. Barring replacing that front chain ring, we haven't done anything with the crank arms, and it may be that it needs a really good clean in there. So another Haibike user actually sent me a message on Facebook today, actually, telling me that his crank arm had fallen off, but he was getting clicking, really bad clicking, before that happened. Now, he hasn't been doing any bike maintenance, he did admit that, whereas I checked mine after, well, before every ride, actually. And so it may be that we have to take the crank arms off. Yeah, it's still doing it. We'll take the crank arms off and we'll see if that works. But what we'll do is I think we'll have that as another video rather than yeah, it's creaking away like a creaky thing. And the only other thing I can think it could be would be to take that plastic cover off underneath and see if we can. It's really, it just spoils the bike, because Heidi's just been handling absolutely fantastically up in the Dales and the lakes. No complaints, it's just this creaking now.